It's a little chaotic here at the Dr. Yum Project Kitchen and Yum Pediatrics, but I wanted to take a moment to talk to you about some of the news we've been hearing about heavy metal contaminants in baby food, because this is, a little bit troubling on first pass when you're hearing about baby food having contaminants that could potentially be harmful to your baby. It's very scary sounding. So I wanted to address what we have been hearing about this new information, which actually isn't that new. So first of all, let me just give you a little bit of context. Back in 2019, there was another big study that showed that heavy metal contaminants can be found in over 90% of commercially available baby foods. And these contaminants are arsenic and lead and mercury. And when they looked at a lot of these baby food companies' baby foods, they found detectable amounts of these contaminants. So this is not new necessarily. And back in 2019, I actually did a baby food webinar and we talked about this. So if you are interested in learning more about baby food in general, we're going to link to our webinar too, where we talk a little bit about this particular topic, but also about baby food and how you start baby food and when you start baby food and all of that good stuff. But back then, the study called out a few more troublesome foods where higher amounts of heavy metal contaminants can be found, and those were rice cereal and rice containing crackers and snacks that were made primarily of rice. Juices were also a source of greater than usual contaminants, heavy metal contaminants. And then certain vegetables, which we typically love to feed our babies as first foods, namely carrots and potatoes. So I think the common thread between those is they're root vegetables. And a lot of these contaminants are found in the air and the water and the soil. So some of these root vegetables may be concentrating those contaminants. So that was kind of the old news. Kind of the same news coming out now in a fresher form with new information. Some of the baby food companies have participated in the study, some have not. So I want you to just put this all into context, because there are heavy metal contaminants in lots of foods. And of course, when we're thinking about babies and their developing brain, we don't want to overdo any of those, but it is unavoidable that we will be in contact through our food sources with heavy metal contaminants. So how do we make sure that we minimize exposure? And the two things that I want you to think about when you're feeding a brand new baby is to introduce a lot of variety, but not a lot of volume. This should be the mantra: variety, but not a lot of volume. And why is that? So in the beginning, when we're feeding our babies new foods, we really want them to get their primary nutrition from milk, either formula or breast milk. And in the early days of introduction of new foods, between 5 and 6 months, or around that 6-month mark, we don't want to necessarily replace how much milk they're getting. We want to introduce foods to give them a chance to develop their swallowing, so feeding development. We want to introduce a wide variety of foods so they're used to and have lots of practice with new foods, particularly vegetables, which are a little bit more challenging and need a lot more practice. And then we also want to introduce them to new proteins that are potentially allergenic. And we know from research now that introduction of some of those high allergen foods, like peanut and egg, for instance, may reduce the chance of a baby developing food allergies. So it is not really for nutrition as much as it is for experience. And so we want those calories primarily to come from milk. So babies really should get exposed to lots of little tastes of lots of little foods. And So if you are introducing a new food, I remember back in the day when my babies were little, my big boys were little babies, we were told to introduce a food for 3 or 4 days before you move on to the next food. And really what the research has shown is that that approach does not prevent food allergies, but what it does do is it lengthens the time during which a baby is exposed to a variety of foods. So you really can introduce foods much more rapidly. And when we're thinking about heavy metal contaminants, that also means that we're not overdoing one particular food, because every food could have a different heavy metal contaminant and a different amount. And so if we mix it up and we give a lot of different foods, then we're minimizing the chance of overdoing any one particular contaminant. Make sense? So variety, not volume. So we're talking about a little bitty taste of carrots, a little bit of taste of cereal, a little taste of a meat. And yes, you can do meats early too. So in the beginning, we're going to introduce a rather smooth texture, but it doesn't mean that you necessarily have to do jarred baby food. You can really use your own foods too. So people have asked me, well, if you make your own food, will you necessarily give your baby less exposure? And so the truth is that these heavy metal contaminants are ubiquitous. They're in all kinds of foods. They're in organic foods. They're in jarred foods. They're in the foods that we buy at the grocery store and then make lovingly into baby food for our babies. But what I like about introducing your own food, particularly introducing the foods that you're eating in your meal to your baby, is that probably you will end up introducing more variety, right? Because your family doesn't just sit down and eat carrots for an entire meal or sweet potatoes. You may be eating some roasted carrots and roasted Brussels sprouts, a little bit of meat, maybe a little bit of potatoes. And so that approach to feeding your baby in the same way that you're eating, what we call one meal for one family, may end up allowing your baby less exposure to one particular type of food where there may be a heavy metal contaminant. So we love feeding your baby the same food as you're eating, and that can be from first bites. And I would encourage you to check out our baby food option recipe tag on the Dr. Yum website, and we will post that in the comments today. So you can go through and see the recipes that we have tagged as fun, family, flavorful, nutritious, easy recipes that your baby can start eating with you from the very first bite. So they are not eating just one jar of carrots for that one meal. And there is nothing wrong with jarred food. It is absolutely okay to do a mix of jarred food, store-bought food, and your own food. But I love the idea of feeding your baby with you too, as much as you can. So a couple of resources that I wanted to share with you. We're going to put a link to our baby food webinar, okay? And then the Dr. Yum website has undergone a transformation over the past few weeks, and really over the past few months. It's been in the works. And we have redone a lot of our posts. So we have a section, if you go to the homepage of dryum.org, we have a section called blog posts and stories. And in that area, these are our posts, but they're also more than just posts. We call some of these topics toolkits. So if you go to our baby food toolkit, you will find a whole host of topics about feeding babies in the form of blog posts, in the form of videos, in the form of media, and of course our webinar. We love having babies in this kitchen. It is one of my absolute favorite things to do is to invite the babies in our community and their parents to come and learn about baby food. Because of the pandemic, we have made that experience into a webinar so that any family around the world can enjoy that class from home. So check out our baby food toolkit. Here's an example of a little handout that you can download. A lot of these topics will have their own little download at the bottom, and it shows you high allergen foods, and that you can introduce. It shows you iron-rich foods, and then foods that you can make at home and how you can prepare them and what little tools you need. You don't need a fancy baby making setup. You can use common kitchen items that you have in your home. And then of course there is Raising a Healthy, Happy Eater, which is my book with feeding therapist Melanie Potok. And we are really passionate about teaching families about feeding as a developmental process so that babies and children can eat the most nutritious foods in the best way possible. So that's another resource for you if you're in the Fredericksburg area. We have this available at all of the libraries as well. So that's my little take on baby food. I hope this brings you a little bit of comfort. As you're seeing all of these headlines about baby food, it really doesn't have to be as scary as it seems. Remember, lots and lots of variety, and keep the volumes really low. So their tummies are not super full of food and they want to continue having all of their nutritious milk.